I'm doing something a little different. This is part of the attire that a monk would wear, a Roman Catholic monk. It's all brown. This is called a capuche. I'm learning new words as I do this stuff. So basically it's like a hooded overlay. Back here you'll see the actual capuche, whereas the hood is attached to this top piece. The top piece comes to a point in the back, and this is the after look. This one is the one that still needs to be fixed. And I mean fixed by, when wearing this, that's why I use my dressmaker form, is they like to, or at least this particular brother, likes to have it so that it lays just so, and that this part, which is the stiff brim part, does not scrunch down. Like if this was shoulders right here, he doesn't want it to do this. You see how this kind of like just all folds up on itself? And here it's nice and stiff. It's nice and straight. Now, had this been made, the whole hood part made in, this is a double layer fabric, if the whole thing had been made double, then the extra, I don't know what they used in here for an extra stiffener. I don't know if it's just a heavier weight material inside or what. I don't believe it's not interfacing, because I can separate the two layers of fabric just by pinching it. So this was my dilemma. How to get this that will sit like this on the back to this way. So the first thing I did was I turned it inside out. So this is good for you guys who do cosplay and you like to make your own capes, and you want your cape to like sit like this instead of it being all scrunched up in the back. And this is how you do it. So what I did, I had this idea, and fortunately it worked very well, I must say. I turned the hood, I'm just straightening up my interfacing out here. This is a black medium weight interfacing, iron-on. I had to create a pattern to get it to stick up like this. So this was kind of trial and error, but as you can see, it worked. It actually sits quite nicely. So you want to take the hood and you're going to lay it flat. This is if you don't put a really stiff type of craft interfacing through the whole hood. You do the hood and then you realize, oh gosh, it's not going to stand up for me. So this is how you fix that. And so I lay this hood out like this. And the whole key to getting it to stick up is to have something that comes down to a point, to the point, and keeps it lifted up. Since it was not done double layer, and it was not this, whatever this stabilizer is that was used in here, was not done all the way through it. It was only done in the brim part, or the part by the face. So I turned the hood inside out. So turn your hood inside out. And you can always, like, since I didn't have the original pattern, I just had to go wing it. And so I already knew that the piece that I needed to go here, it has to hold this point up, which is this, at the back. So I knew that whatever I came up with had to go from the neckline up to the point. So that is the shape I need. So I needed something that kind of went like this. And instead of it being, so I went from the neckline down here up to where it folds at the top. So I put that, I took a, this is just a piece of what's called canvas paper. It's a nice stiff, almost a cardboardy kind of paper. It's 140-pound paper that I use for some of my paintings. And I had this big tablet, and I thought, well, this will make great for a nice stiff template to be able to trace around it and to cut the pieces out. So I put the paper up against the hood like this with a straight edge. As you'll see, it doesn't come all the way down to the point because you don't need it to. Because all we're, sorry about my itchy nose, it's been itching all morning, is just enough to keep it held up. So, but you want that body through the whole thing. So what I did was, I put this paper down alongside the front brim, and this up on the folded edge, and then I marked it top on the fold. I have to put it on both sides. So you want to mark it fold, and that's top, front to back. I write little notes on these so I know exactly how I'm placing it, because when you flip it, but you have to flip it because this is double layered. This insert that I put in here, it's double layered, because this front part is very definitely double layered. There's even a triple layer in there. And then down here, I cut the point off because I don't need it to go all the way down to the neck and the front. And I put down here, this is that neck edge. This one right on their neck edge. I know the neck edge is down here. This is the top. This is the point at the back. Back point. And this I'm going to match to the front. To front. And this is the center. Front center. So when you cut this part, after you cut out what you need for this, you want to make sure that you know where your center is, because this is the center spot. The center spot is where it comes in contact with the front of the hood. So now this is a very heavy felt, so I didn't want to use another heavy fabric. Fortunately, I was provided with this medium weight. It's kind of a broadcloth material. And so I took my template, take the template, you fold your fabric on the fold because this is going to be on the fold. When it unfolds, it'll go all the way around, and that's what you want it to do. So I marked it on here. I have to stand up to see because sometimes the lighting in here is not so great. And I'm going to cut it out with pinking shears because it being on the inside interior of the hood, it's really not necessary to serge it. You can serge the edge if you want, but I'm not going to do that for this. So what I did was I laid my pattern down here, on here, and then I took my washable marking pen, and I marked around it, and now I'm going to cut it out. And then to do the flip side of it, you take the pattern and you turn it over, and you do the same thing on the opposite side. This is with your fabric turned right sides together, just as normal any other time you make something. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut this out. Could not find my other pinking shears, so I'm using the spare pair. I have another pair that cuts not the razor teeth, but it cuts in half circles, and I like them much better. But I've misplaced them in between projects, but you know, that happens. That's why I have spares. Okay, so that's one half. And cut out the other half. It was really nice that this extra material was in there with this project and the bin that was provided. And I'm going to use it to the full advantage. That. And to this other side. Now ideally you would want to, this does have some wrinkles in this material, is to press it out and then cut it out, but I didn't do that this time. So I have my Singer presser back here. I'm going to press this real quick. I've got it heated up. And get it nice and, it only takes a few seconds. This thing gets really hot really well. As you'll see, I only literally put it in there for just a couple seconds. And maybe 5 seconds. Okay. Alright, there's that one. May as well do both of them at the same time. See how wrinkled this one is? If you see the wrinkles? And that Singer press, steam press works wonders. It takes all those wrinkles out. If you have an iron, you want to use an iron, you can use your iron to press out wrinkles in anything, but always make sure that when you fill your steam iron, that you only fill it with distilled water or filtered drinking water. Is actually distilled water, so you can use that as well. But distilled water isn't expensive to buy in the gallons. I think it's like under $1 some places. Okay, so now we've got the piece that's going to go inside the hood right here. It's going to go inside there, right inside there. So what's neat about this is I wasn't sure I had enough interfacing to do it. I got a yard, so I only needed a yard to do 2 of these. And so what you want to do is figure out which is your right side, which one's your wrong side. And the trick is you fold it over, whichever side is darker, and sometimes it's the rougher side, that's your right side. So you're going to so I always lay these out with the right sides together, so that when I put the interfacing on them, I'm putting it on the right side of the right half. And what I did with this same pattern, I cut out the interfacing. The stiffer the interfacing, the better. If I had, well, when I ordered this online, it was actually, I thought it was the craft interfacing, and it wasn't, because the craft interfacing is a heavier weight. I mean, it's even heavier than this. I mean, it's really stiff, but I wanted to get the black, and they don't have the black, I guess, in the stiffer kind. So that's why I'm having to do a double layer. Otherwise, I could do just one of these with a really stiff interfacing, and it would do the same job. But because they don't sell it, in my area anyway, I'm using the medium weight black interfacing. And whenever you cut out your interfacing, you even put it the right sides together, the glue side is out, put your pattern on top, cut it out. So now I got to match up, and when you do the other side, you flip it over in the reverse. So now I'm going to put the right interfacing with the right side, so to speak. So that obviously doesn't go on that side, but it does go this way. So I have it upside down, but that's okay. I'm going to put my fusible interfacing on that piece. Looks like I cut these a little larger than my actual piece, but that's okay. Because interfacing, you trim it away anyway. And then put that on that wrong side. So when I go to press this interfacing onto it, it'll cover the whole thing. Just so it gets covering the whole thing. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to take a quick press it on, and then I'll trim around it. And that's the right side. I don't want the interfacing on the right side. I want it on the wrong side. So I flip that. And the glue side has the little knobby things, and it goes this way. Sometimes I get myself twisted around. Just like this. Like that. And I'll put this one there. Should fit on there nicely. And it's okay if they overlap in the center, because I did cut them a little bit bigger. Actually, I cut them the same size as the outside part, which I should have cut them smaller, because technically your interfacing should be a 1/4 inch smaller all the way around than the actual piece that you're gluing it to or pressing it to. So now we're going to take this one, now that I've got the two pieces on here, and I'm going to adhere it with the steam press. But no steam, just heat. Take that like that, and like this, and stick that down there. So you want to make sure you get all the surfaces ironed on here. I guess y'all can't see this machine back here. Let's see if I have a light. Nope, no light there. Thought I had a light in there. It may not be plugged in. Okay. So, about, what was that, about 10 seconds, I guess. I thought I had another light in here. I probably do. Sorry that you can't see this machine over here. Well, it gets hot. Forget it, it gets hot. And it's gluing it to that inset. This is a type of inset. And it's also at the same time making it a double stiff than what it is by itself. So there's one. One is done. Let me fold this one up. Take it over and do the same thing. Like that. Scoot down there, buddy. Like this. So like I said, you can do this for if you're into cosplay and you want, to your hood to make a statement, so to speak. You can use this method on that. I don't know how that one got to be so long. Let's see if I can get it to where I can trim it out. Yeah, this was the first one I cut out, and I couldn't see the line to cut it out right. So let me see if I can get this light on over here. And well, it's plugged in. I may just have a light out. Come think of it. Let's see if this one goes. Nope, that one doesn't even have a thing on it. I guess I need a new light bulb. Because this one does not go on. Nope, sure doesn't. That's funny. Anyway, let me go ahead and press this out. Just like this. It holds it in place. This on here. Smooth it out. Just be very careful with these things. They are hot. And it doesn't take but literally no more than 10 seconds to get it to adhere to it. That. Do the tails. Now I did the fusible interfacing all the way over the edges, which you don't need to do it that way. That's just how I ended up doing it. And I needed to have the most stiffness I could find available. Okay, so I won't need the steamer anymore because this is basically, but I will use it one more time. I take that back because I do press it before I actually put it into the hood. So I'm going to trim these little tips off from me over measuring. So that's going to be nice and smooth. Okay. And same thing on this side. Just like that. And like this. Trim away the excess hanging over the edge of the fabric. I don't think I had any on this one per se. No. Okay. So now you're going to take both these pieces and you're going to put them right sides together and only stitch this edge. Leave the straight edge alone. Don't stitch it because we're going to turn it right side out. We're going to press it and then we're going to stitch it to the hood. So I'm going to match these up. And I got these really cool extra long pins just for this. Now when I'm working with this, I just pin them to hold it in place, but away from where I'm going to be stitching. It's just easier that way. I don't have to worry about running over the pins, breaking the needle, and that sort of thing. Although I broke 2 needles yesterday because I guess my sewing machine just decided to be mean. So let's put this here. And you're only going to stitch around this edge about 1/4 of an inch, because that's the seam allowance that I gave for doing this. Okay. Not, this is going to be actually hand whip stitched on the inside for 2 reasons. There are so many layers of fabric in the hood that trying to do a quilting stitch called stitch in the ditch, which is where you see the previous seam indentation, you stitch right in there again so you don't see your stitches. Well, I'll try to show you that on the video here in a second. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Because I'm using, so many layers, I do use the roller foot to stitch this. So we're going to take this to the machine and we'll go around the edge. So I'm at my machine. I took the free arm off of it, and this is a JCPenney model heavy duty. I believe this is number 5102. So it's a JCPenney 5102. And like I said, we're going to stitch the pointed edge first. And the way you tell a 1/4 inch in is by lining up the edge of your fabric to the outer edge of the foot. And this is a rollerball foot, so I'll show you that. I can disengage that real quick. This is a rollerball foot. Has the little, there's the little rollerball one in there. And what that does is it evenly pulls the fabric through when you're working with multiple layers. It's one of those snap-on ones, which makes it great. And let's see if I can do this without breaking a thread. Because my machine yesterday was being mean with me, so that's why I took the free arm off of it to kind of give it some more give. Always start with your needle in your material, and then I'm just going to gingerly go across. And we'll move this needle, this pin, because it looks like the foot might hit it. Now when you come to the point, you come within 1/4 inch of it, you put your needle in, lift your presser foot up, and then turn it to the right to go down the other side, and then keep going. Well, looky there, I did it without breaking the thread. Always, when you put your presser foot up, it takes the tension off, then you pull your needle to the highest position before you start pulling it out. And I like to turn it over to make sure that I've caught all the layers on both sides, and I see a spot where I missed just a little bit. Everything else looks good. It was right after I turned that corner. So I'm going to take this off, give myself a good 4-inch tail there, and find that spot that I missed, because when we go to turn this, we want to be able to press it when it's actually stitched. So I'm going to put it on the side where I could see it was not catching. this fabric sometimes will slide, so you gotta kind of account for that. There we go. Pull it out. You want to leave a long tail in case you come back to the machine and you need to stitch it and you don't want to have it to come out. So then you take the pins out like this. They were just holding it in place anyway. I could have put more pins in it to hold it a little bit better, but this is just going underneath the hood. So, and then you take it and turn it right sides out. Nice little point. And the other reason why you do that little 1/4 inch seam is because the point stays nice and pointy. So I'm going to press this, and then what I'm going to do is stitch shut this edge. Now as you can see, it's very nicely crisp pressed. Still hot actually. And so now I'm going to go around this edge and we're going to pin it just to hold it in place, kind of like I did before. You don't have to like pin it every so many inches. It's just so that it doesn't slide open while you stitch it shut across the edge. I might use a few more pins than I did before. And it's okay if, as you're pinning it, it kind of bubbles out a little bit because of the pressing it open can make it seem like one side shorter than the other, even though they're the same exact size. They were both cut out with the same pattern. And there goes that. Because that actually helps with the lifting up of the hood once it's installed. This is not exactly an alteration, it's more like an enhancement, I guess is what you'd call this kind of thing. And if the interfacing is lagging out past the main fabric, I ignore that and I just stitch a 1/4 inch from the main material. And I need to put this pin on the other side. So we're just going to stitch this along that edge just like before, 1/4 inch from here, from that serrated edge. Using the pinking shears also helps from any fraying that your fabric might do if you have a fabric that tends to fray. Come to the center because you can see the indentation and just turn it just a little bit. Fix that pin. Wanted to stretch a little bit on me, so I'm going to adjust it just a hair. Pull that back. You can feel with your fingers how to get those little bumps out of there. Because this one definitely wants to shimmy on me for some reason. There So I've got one side that was a little bit longer than the other. Because it wanted to stretch. So we'll just go with it. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do, which I didn't do with the original one, is I'm going to stitch another 1/8 of an inch out. Just because this is going into the one that's for a special event. And I want to make sure that there's no missing, you know, parts of it in attaching it. I'm going to take these pins out because I don't need them now that it's been stitched once. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to stitch it one more time, real close to the edge. It's in lieu of doing a serging stitch. And of course, I forgot my tail, so guess what happens? I end up pulling my thread out of the needle. Now here's the trick. When you go to thread your needle and you cut it, you always want to start with a new end. Cut it at an angle because it tends to thread easier when the thread is not cut straight across. It doesn't allow the thread to fray, and it typically should go through here pretty easy, as long as I can see where I'm going. But I had cataract surgery. I got new lenses. The only drawback with the new lenses is it doesn't like real shiny stuff, so I have to put my finger behind the hole so I can see it well enough to put the thread in there. So all that shiny blurs it. Shiny metal. You'd think they would make like these pressure feet out of something that's not so darn shiny, but it is what it is, right? Come on, baby, get in there. There you go. Sometimes I can just rub my finger on there and pull it through. Just like that. Okay. And where did I start? Oh, I didn't start over it. I hadn't started yet. Get out of the way. This is where I need to remember to trim my threads as I go. Little end threads. Trim them as you go. And they don't get in the way. And yes, I do end up sweeping the floor a lot. So I don't do this in a carpeted room anymore. Too much mess. I think it broke again. Probably. This is what I was talking about. If you don't trim your threads as you go, sometimes you get caught up in this mess. So I'm going to check my threading. Make sure all these loose threads are cut off. You know they are. I mean, I don't have to do this step. I just chose to do it for this one just because of the mere fact that this is for a more of a dress form capuche. It's for a special, some kind of special event that they're having at the local Catholic church. And yes, it's kind of like a costume. That's why I said if you're into cosplay and you want to make, you know, you're making your own cape, and it's important for it to stick up in the back instead of laying all squished down. And this is how you can remedy that after you've already had it made. I know some people already have their capes and things made up ahead of time, and then they realize, oh, it's droopy in the back. I don't want it droopy in the back. And so you can fix it. You just find a coordinating fabric and go with it. Alright, now let's continue on from there, since this is just, I call this as the anchor line, stitch line, so that when I go to hand stitch it, it'll have something that'll hold on to better. Put that needle in there. Now it's already hesitating, so to me that means I gotta check my bobbin. You can feel it tugging, like hesitating. There's probably something going funky in the threading department. Or there's a thread wrapped around the bobbin. Could be a number of different things. There we go. think I heard it go bing. I can hear it when it breaks. It's kind of funny. It always breaks like right at the bend in it because I turn the material. Which I think is kind of funny when it does it at that point. But when you're dealing with a really heavyweight material, this isn't like heavyweight, this is like medium heavyweight. And if you go a little too fast, it makes the tension kind of snag up. So don't get discouraged. I'm going to add an angle. See if I can get it in that hole again. I got to put the foot down, so I got to stick my finger behind there. And doing what I do, I just had to get the cataracts taken care of. It just was not, it was a no-brainer. But now I've got to deal with the shiny thing. Having shiny metal on shiny metal is hard to see. There we go, pull that up. I just rub my finger. Once I get the little end in there, I just take my finger and pull it up with the oiliness of my finger. Just pulls it up. At least that's what I say. I don't know if that's actually the truth, but it seems to be. It attracts it. Get that thread out of there. And keep watching to make sure the thread's still going down through the needle. Now it's hooked on that bump, so I'm gonna lift it up just kind of wiggle it through. And then the thread breaks. I knew it was going to do that for some reason. But I'm at the end of it, so it's okay. I don't need to fuss with myself, but I am going to rethread this for the next project. You always thread your machine with the tension off, which means your presser foot is up. And like this. And put the foot down so I can see what I'm doing. You can also wet the back of the needle. Believe it or not, that actually helps. I don't know why. And put that bad boy in there. And up it comes. As before I had my cataracts removed, I could not thread a needle for, gosh, it took me 10 plus minutes in a magnifying glass. Okay, so I'm going to press this off, and then we're going to attach it to the hood. Okay, so now I've got the hood turned inside out. A couple of strings here I got to cut off from the, I'll call it a stabilizer for lack of better words. So you want to remember that when this is turned right side out, this point has to hold up the point of the hood. So first you want to find the center of this thing, and you can kind of see where it's at the end of the point. But if you fold it in half like this, and you mark it with a washable marker, like I've got here, and I'm marking on both sides because in case I forget which side I'm working with. Come on, get in there. There's that side, and then on the opposite side. And you can take a wet cloth and just wash this off after you're done. So you want to find the center of your hood. Now, since this is constructed in such a way that they actually have a point here, that's my center because it falls right in line with the end point. And remember, it's going to end up like this. But in order to have it end up with the point down, you have to sew it on with the point up. The first time I tacked one of these on, I did it upside down, and I was like, that's not right. So you do it like this because when you go to flip it down, after it's been sewn, that's what makes this stiff fabric hold the back side up. because it's nice and stiff. So basically, I've got it on here. I'm a lefty, so bear with me. I've got it in my center matched up. And what I usually try to do, if I can get a pin through this, is to pin it where it holds that point in place, and then in a couple other spots. But this is a lot of thick fabric, so this may or may not jive. It's going to bend this pin in a heartbeat. I already know. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to go underneath and see if I can't pull up the original hood and just kind of stick it through the top. Kind of hold it there just while I'm stitching it. Now I'm hand stitching this, like I said. I tried the machine stitching it in the ditch as a quilting term, and it just did not fare well. I kept breaking my thread, and I thought, well, this is going to be a hand stitch job after all. So I'm going to take another one of these long pins and do the same thing just on this other side. I'm grabbing this material and sticking it through the addition, just to kind of like have it there, because all of this is going to get stitched down with what's called a whip stitch. And so I'm going to take it all the way to the other side. I'm going to follow this along till this down to the collar edge, and this extra roll of material is what I'm attaching it to. And so we're going to go underneath at the bottom of it, come up about a 1/4 inch into, so it's a 1/4 inch into it, pull it through all the layers like this, and stitch it in place. About every 1/4 inch you're going to do a stitch. Nice even stitches all the way across. And when I get halfway, you'll see how it looks once it's flipped over. Okay, so I'm going to try to show you exactly where I'm catching these stitches as best I can. Okay. Here you have the original part of the hood. This is the stiffener, collar, whatever you want to call it. So I lay it on top, and I take my needle and I put it behind into that roll of material from the original hood. Come through the front, pull it up, go around, and do that every 1/4 inch, and we'll just put a whip stitch around it to hold it in place. Okay, so now the collar stiffener or hood stiffener is in place. This is wrong side out, and it's been stitched all the way across. When you get to the end by the neck collar, you just tack that down and stitch it down. Then you're going to push this, put it back. Be sure that when you're making your whip stitches that you're making them good and tight. Now this is wrong side out. I'm going to turn it right side out. That thread is for something else. Right side out. And put that little pointed hood out there. And with my hands inside, I'm going to smooth it out inside. And you can kind of see if I sit this on the table, it's going to stay nice and stiff. It does not flop down. It's not, because it has this point on the inside. I don't know if y'all can see from this. perspective, but let's say this way. But inside there is the extra piece, and so this one is basically done. A little point on the hood wasn't all the way out. I've never made it before. So if you have a cosplay event coming up and you want your cape hood to stick up and be, you know, stand up and be noticed, so to speak, this is one way you can do it. If you've already got a cape and you're like, well, I don't like the way it looked last year, this is how you can fix it. You just take some extra material, put I don't know what I would call that. I guess you'd call it's like a facing. It's like a hooded facing, and put it inside there. And I think even when you put it on, I've never worn one of these, so I don't know. Let's see. This is the first. Okay. So, let's see how this looks. Let me turn this around a little bit. Okay. So this is how it looks on with, of course, my shoulders aren't as broad as this gentleman who this belongs to. But as you can see, the hood stays up nice and stiff in the back. And then when you put the hood up, of course now it looks a little creepy, but I guess that's how they wear them. I don't know if they wear them down on their face like this. That makes it look like something from Star Wars. But you can see how it's all nice and just kind of sits there with the point on the top and everything. And so this was a fun project, and I did 2 of these. Let me see what the other one looks like. See? So I'll put this on the mannequin so we can make sure that it sits like this one. I'm sure it will. And so I keep these dressmaker forms. They have shoulders. They don't have a head on them, but sometimes I don't need the person's head. I just need the shoulders. And so his concern was wearing it, and it would not sit up. And as you can see, just like the other one, it sits up pretty good. Let's see how this one looks. This one's got 1 layer. It's not as hot. But so if you want to play a monk or one of those Star Wars guys, I guess it'd be Star Wars, and you need one of these things, and it comes to a point in the back. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there's a point back there, and so it kind of sits on your head like this. And I don't know how they get it to stay like that, but this was a kind of a costume hack. Excuse me. So in the monk world, this is called a capuche. It goes over their tunic, and then there's another garment that they wear underneath. But it's also great for cosplay. So you can, if you have a full cape hood, and a full cape with a hood attached, then you can fix it, just like I did with these. I just have to remember that the piece inside, you have to flip it to the back, because it'll rub up against your head, but nobody knows it's there but you. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more costume kind of hacks, I'll see what I can do. But, you know, we got Comic-Con and all that in our area. So I hope that you've enjoyed the video. Please share it. Let me know what you liked about it, didn't like about it, and leave me some comments. Got any questions, concerns? I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. And actually looking forward to communicating with y'all. So I'm trying to get more videos on here, so keep your eyes open. Subscribe if you want to see them. And we'll be sewing some more later, and God bless to y'all.